Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have a currently reading video. The DiverseAthon is happening this week. It started on Sunday and it ends next Sunday, and I had a few books on my bookshelves that I still haven't got around to reading, and I thought that this would be the perfect time to read these books. The first book that I'm reading is What Belongs to You by Garth Greenwell, and this book follows, well, I'm pretty sure he's anonymous at this point, an anonymous narrator who meets this man called Mitko, and anyway, an American teacher pays a male sex worker, Mitko, to do the deed, and this starts a somewhat unhealthy relationship. So far I'm liking seeing how he talks about everything being a performance and everyone acting up for people. And yes, there is a poetry in the language. The paragraphs might be long, but they are quite fast moving and they pack a lot into them. And although it is a rather short book at less than 200 pages, you do need to mull over some things that Greenwell is talking about. And so far I would recommend this. Next I have Sleeping on Jupiter by Anuradha Roy. This book I have owned since it was longlisted for the Booker in 2015. It begins in a really graphic way that immediately pulled me in and had me feeling an emotional interaction with the first person voice in the story. The story begins with this first person narrative of a young girl and then moves further into the future with these three older women getting onto a train to go on holiday, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be exploring what happened to the young girl and the lives of these older women. Anuradha Roy's prose is a great thing to read. Similar to Garth Greenwell, there is a poetry here, and so far is a book that, although the language is quite poetic, it doesn't shy away from harsh truths, and it doesn't lose those truths by trying to be poetic. The next books that I'm going to include are like a DiverseAthon TBR because I was planning on making a video and never got around to it. So the first book on that list is The Fisherman by Jacuzzi. If anyone watched my early videos on this channel, then they will have seen that I was completely enthralled about this book and I really wanted to get around to reading it. And it's because of that that I still haven't read it yet, because I am so excited and thinking that this is going to be a brilliant book that I'm worried that it's going to disappoint me. At the time, when people were talking about the shortlist for the Booker, this was the one that I didn't care whether it was going to win because it was going to be my favourite. It apparently deals with African storytelling, myths, and weaves them into this story about a family of brothers. And yeah, I guess I'll see when I get around to reading it. Next I have Hyde by Matthew Griffin. These two men, Wendell and Frank, meet after the Second World War and spark up a relationship, but because of the time period and society, they are outcast, and they end up living together, and then the book skips forward on when they're 80 something, and Wendell finds Frank lying motionless outside. He begins to think about their lives, and I think that it's going to be a brilliant book. Next I thought I might include some poetry into this readathon because it's one of those things that we also exclude when reading literature and thinking about literature. A lot of the time we forget to think about the poets, and there are some poets out there who are writing brilliant things, and so I have two books that I found at the charity shop, which the first is Tanti Diablese, I am unsure how to pronounce it, by Fawzia Kane. I heard that Kane usually writes poems that link together, and in this one they are linked by this almost, what does it say? From Caribbean Creole folklore about this devil woman. Here Tanti Diablese is also described as a 300-year-old ex-slave, and I don't know whether all the poems are going to be about her, but I do think Kane was born in Trinidad and Tobago before coming to the UK, and I'm believing that her poetry is going to be very important to read, not just in the sense of the DiverseAthon, but just in terms of allowing me to read from other experiences within poetry as well, because at the moment I am very aware of the fact that a lot of the poetry I read is very white and very English, and although I have enjoyed it, The phone's ringing. Anyway, I'm not discounting the poetry that I've read from white writers, but I think that I definitely need to look at including more poets from different backgrounds, and I'm hoping to start by reading Tanti Diablesse. We will figure it out, and we will leave some sort of pronunciation to show me how stupid I am down below. Next I have Third World Girl by Jean Breeze. Jean Breeze is, the blurb tells me she's a popular Jamaican dub poet. Her poems are apparently a lot to do with the Caribbean. A lot of these poems seem to be written in dialect. They seem to be exploring the life of Jamaican women from childhood to adulthood. This also came with a CD that I might watch either before or after I've read it. As with all writing, some poets read their poetry really well, and some poets are terrible at reading their poetry. I've bought poetry off people before after hearing them read, and it's been great, and then when I've read it on my own, I haven't enjoyed it. And the same thing's happened, that you can read poems and think they're great, but the poet just doesn't have a great delivery. So I'm not unsure how I'll go about this, but I'm thinking I'm definitely going to be reading this one. I think that the DiverseAthon is something that I'm glad people are taking part in. I can't remember all the channels that are involved in it this year and all the people, so I will leave various links down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.